thanks for taking some time to talk to me then. I mean, you can talk to me anytime, but you're taking time on your vacation, which I appreciate.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool. Well, tell me, let's see. We are going to review uh, a month ago or more when we played Cold Soldier. The whole reason for this conversation is that one thing I want to talk to you about, and this is a seminar conversation at Adepts Play, so I'm recording
Yeah.
now. So
Gotcha.
the primary question is, when do we experience the sense when we play of identification, and you make decisions very strongly for your character, very powerfully, and without much reflection. And you also have a very strong sensory impression of the place, of the fictional place.
Right.
Right. So I don't think you can get that just by starting in it. All right, everybody, let's immerse. Now we'll play. Right.
So this is in a way I'm not sure if I'm the exact wrong person to talk to talk about this with, because I am. Are you familiar with the term? I'm not even sure about the pronunciation. Aphantasic,
Yeah.
aphantasia.
Yeah.
So I almost have it. Like I can imagine things very, very vaguely if I really make an effort, but I don't see pictures. I
Okay, that's
don't
fine.
like when I do role playing games, strictly a verbal thing for me. So I never
Right.
really
Okay.
immersed in a character.
Well, it depends, I think, on how we define it. The way I like to think about it is that you are playing without a whole lot of reflection. You're very comfortable in the purpose of play, and you're very comfortable in the sense of, I'm playing this character and they do this.
Yeah, like you're in a flow
yeah.
state.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so really I have never come across a good definition of immersion except for that. So, but what I was saying is that I think that's an effect, not a cause of play, if that makes any sense. So the idea is that, well, role playing begins with immersion and then we play. I like to think of it, we're playing and then that comes about. It happens.
Right. Yeah. There are some like prerequisites that need to be fulfilled. It can be more or less suitable to immersion, like the game experience, I guess.
Let's take a look at a game like Cold Soldier, which has, and you've played lots of games like that, right? Where it's turn taking and talking and saying what happens, and there's some kind of systemic way to organize it.
So for me, I mean, I think it was a really interesting game. I mean, design wise and whatnot. And I feel like this sort of game with very strict sort of scene framing, very exact, and like a bunch of scenes. Every scene has one specific conflict, and when you resolve the conflict, you cut the scene. It's like it's a very for me, it's a very American kind of.
There's a design space. There's a design space that this fits right into.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, it precedes story games.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. This was actually a game for the 2005 Ronnie's contest that I ran. And I didn't dictate that it be this kind of game. My Life with Master had come out 2 years before. Everybody was thinking about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so most of the submissions that I received were like this.
Yeah. So, and I think usually when I play a game like that, I've played a couple. I have not actually yet played My Life with Master, unfortunately. But I've played a couple of games like this, and I often feel quite constrained. Like I said, I don't. For me to engage with a game, I really need to have some sort of authorship or some sort of creative inlet. I think in part because I don't really immerse, as in see the images for me and so on. And often these kinds of games, I feel quite constricted. And I think, I mean, I I really should have with this game because it's very constricted. It's very I have very few things I can actually do.
So
It's
little.
like
Yeah.
you speak for 5 minutes and then I say something and I flip a card and then it's a lot of game master monologuing and then sometimes I get to say something. But the few things that I do get to say are very important. Like they dictate a lot. They have a lot of influence on the story, both my decisions aesthetically and mechanically. So I didn't feel
Right.
so restricted. I think part of it is also because it's a two-play game. So if we were doing this with 5 players,
Right. Well, I agree. This is a game that's very suited to the one-on-one.
yeah,
And I was really glad to hear you say that just now, because truth is, even though I love My Life with Master, it has amazing, hugely flexible story potential. And I love several other games of this kind. But notice I didn't say all or lots. I said several, because most of them, especially in the last decade, I don't really like very much at all. And so it's been interesting me as to what is the division. If we were to make a chart of game variables like rules and make a big multivariate chart that we all would love to make one day, all these games. Well, okay, this cluster here, that cluster there. No, one of these days, some PhD student is going to analyze.
I mean, it's basically the purpose of game theory is figuring out why we like the games that we like, right?
Yeah, and so if we find that cluster, what's fascinating is that, and then we color them, the ones I like and the ones I don't like. We would find that cluster was multicolored.
Yeah.
So there's something going on in its variables of play that is different from the superficial organizational variables. Right. And maybe they're not superficial really, but certain other obvious organizational variables of play.
Yeah.
That's not going to tell us what's good about this one. And let's try to remember what happened. Right. I know I can say mechanically, we chose, or you chose, that you wanted an angry god or a vengeful god. And a
vengeful god.
Yeah. And then I suggested we actually play in the past, the ancient past of where we were sitting in Göteborg. So
in Linköping.
Oh, sorry, we were in Linköping. Even better, because I live in this area, so I have a strong introduction to feuds and murders and the reason why the cities are where they are. And it's all bad. Yeah. It's all bad. It's all pirates killing each other. So the deal is that with that happening, we instantly started to, I felt instantly thinking about the pastures and the hills of Österhusby, and thinking about the ships, coming in and going to all the different towns and stuff like that. So it was very easy for me to start thinking Viking in that sense. And what's interesting about the game, you chose what your lich, right? Your Droller, your Walking Dead guy is like.
Right. I chose a weapon and whether or not I'm part of a group.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
So I recall I chose an aura of terror, something like that for my weapon, and that I was part of a small group.
Right.
So not an army, but like a group of 10 people, like that. Right?
And then we also, there's the game itself provided certain parameters, which is that you are dead and rotting. You're not going to fall apart, but you're clearly, you're a dead person. There's no faking this. You can't go and get a job or something. And you also have almost no volition. You can't speak, so you're not allowed to speak in character. And you can barely even think.
Yeah, you're not allowed. I'm not allowed to express any thoughts or emotion or inner monologue or
Right.
anything like that, except for these flashes of memories.
Yeah. And so then the the limitations on this are immense, right? They're immense.
Yeah.
Um, and yet there's a reason why I always choose this game. So I wanted to, from here, I want you to tell what it was like to play. What did we do? How did it work?
And I think something that I found really interesting as a game designer myself, and I think the game is very interesting design wise. Um, and I think I talked to you about this after the game, that there's sort of there's a story part where you make important decisions about what it is that you actually want. I mean, that's a large part of it. Like the game tells you, so you can do this or you can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you want? And you sort of have to figure out, hang on, which do I actually want? Which is
Mm-hmm.
that's an important dramatic decision. And then there are game. I mean, it's a pretty gamey game. You collect cards, you
Right.
switch
You're
cards,
thinking,
you
you
make
know, there's a
poker
poker
hands.
hand coming at the end. I mean, you're
Yeah.
strategizing there, right? Yeah.
So there's a lot of mechanical gaminess, and there are important decisions there as well. In that you make saying that, all right, so I want this.
Do I need
How do I achieve it?
will I throw out this card or not?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there are two types of important decisions that I get to make. I think. I mean, there are some color decisions,
Right, but
obviously,
you're right.
but
Those
there are
two
two.
primary.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
right. What do I want,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the most effective means for me to get it? And I
Because there's
think,
wanting it right now, and then there's the ultimate thing, which
yeah,
is getting free of this terrible situation.
yeah. So I think this
Yeah.
is really interesting that the mechanics, the gamey part of the mechanics, forces me to make decisions that are thematic, that are,
Exactly. That I agree with you about the processes. And I'm thinking about another factor that aids me in playing the game for both of us. One, it's the rule that says that the person playing the Dark Master um, is going to must have the commands be something that they personally in the real world disgusts them.
yeah,
I can't give I have to, in order to play, I have to have the Dark Master order you to do things that I am disgusted by. And intellectually, you could say that you know that, but I'm more interested in the emotional aspect of that relationship. In other words, if I succeed in sharing with you my own internal states, what it's like to be me, I am a person who finds that disgusting. Right? And you have just, it's like
right,
I opened up my body to you. You can look inside and see that this is something about me. I chose this because at the moment I said, what is repellent to me? What disgusts me? Well, I say disgust because of its English clarity, but repellent is the word that it uses. It makes me
yeah,
not want to be around it. It makes me repel. It repels me. It's like I have to flee if I come across this. And so when you see that, we're connecting not just in the fiction in an abstract way. We're using the fiction to connect as people. And
yeah,
in some ways, by not rebelling, you're sort of agreeing to something that I am disgusted by. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that we process this during play very clearly, but there's a personal connection. When you share my sense of disgust, if it's something that you say, oh, that's terrible, you know, when
yeah,
the Dark Master says that, it says, do this. And you're like, oh man, of course he would. He is so evil, right? That's awful. And yet, in some ways, you know that if you respond like that, it means you and I are now thematic co-authors. You know,
yeah,
we're together. And so the game has a way of really connecting us together. at that level. And I think that's an important variable. It's very similar to my life with Master in this regard.
Yeah.